How you doing? George, Truck Driver Nation. So we're going to talk about how smart dispatchers negotiate loads, obviously fast and profitable. When I say fast, don't get overzealous and miss points, but this is what we're going to discuss. So I'm going to give you kind of like a presentation board so you kind of follow along and see what we're going with. Um, I'm actually going to be reading off another particular board because I need to make sure that I don't miss this because you guys really need this. It's that important not to just trust me on my life experience. Yeah, I know what I'm doing, but it doesn't always remember every point by point. So only an idiot would say that they remember everything. But anyways, most people think of negotiating freight is simply asking brokers for more money. That's definitely not a professional dispatcher. Real negotiation is obviously understanding these different points. You got to understand those market conditions, the trucking positioning, where that truck's at, the profitability, rate per mile, broker's urgency, how hungry they are for your equipment, reload strategy, what are you going to do once you get it to the other end of that particular load, time efficiency, whether it's pickup, dropping off, and everything in between. You got to keep your schedules tight so you're not just blowing time out the door off of that ELD and then with nothing by the end of the week. Leverage the things that you have equipment wise and anything else that falls in your hand because every truck's different. Drive and reefer flatbed step decks when I teach. But that being said, even the driver and equipment and whatever else they have in their hands, you use that as leverage for any particular situation when you're negotiating out rates, for example. And risk management, risk versus reward. Is it worth it? So weather conditions, all that stuff actually plays in a factor. So a professional dispatcher is not just looking or is just not booking the freight. They are managing an entire business operation in real time every single day. Even when you wake up, that truck's already been moving. So it's a full-fledged business that you're helping manage. The dispatcher who understands the full picture fastest usually negotiates the best. Yeah, you're gonna get used to it. It's not like it's gonna become magic to you after some point. It's gonna be one of those things where yeah, it completely starts painting a picture. So let's give me a second here. Trying to bring it down so you guys can see the image. Now, understanding the market conditions, let's go over that for a minute. Rates constantly change because of the supply and demand, how many loads are out there, how many trucks are out there in that given region. Fuel prices, they change every week. The weather conditions, holidays, that's all seasonal stuff. The freight volume actually out there in that particular region that you're operating within, economic shifts, seasonal demand, and then available trucks. All these together actually play up what the market really is. Now, some lanes are extremely profitable, others collapse overnight just because too many trucks went in that area. Now you got more capacity than you do volume. Professional dispatchers constantly study lane averages. You know where your truck's running. The more you run a truck in a particular area, the more you're going to understand the lane averages. Outbound freight markets, I think you can either call it outbound or reload, either which way. Outbound is be basically where they're starting from. And, you got to be careful. Don't let the terminology dictate what you think you're doing. A load is a load, whether you want to call it outbound or weak reload areas. A load's a load. There ain't no such thing as a backhaul in my vocabulary. That's what it is, right? So oversaturated truck zones, especially during a particular season, like produce season, you can actually now obviously all those trucks are needed. In fact, there's not even enough reefer trailers. You try to go around and rent a reefer trailer around the produce seasons, you're gonna find out it's hard to find one. Oversaturated. Okay, I did that one. Seasonal freight trends. We're talking about everything. It could be not just the weather, but it also could be um, particular holiday, whatever. There's all kinds of factors. During the summer, there's more construction than the winter. But during the winter, they still use that time to restock pile, let's say the building warehouses or whatever, to prepare for the summer. Everything has its own little twitch and twerk to it. Just get familiar with your type of trailers. That's going to be the biggest factor that's going to help you. Now, why this matters, dispatchers who don't understand the market negotiate blindly. You're just taking anything. If you're not negotiating for a profit, that's going to be one thing. But if you're negotiating blindly, that means you're literally putting your truck in a bad area to begin with that you don't even stand a chance, because most people, when in common sense, wouldn't have tried to put their equipment based on that type of trailer there to begin with. So without market awareness, trucks get sent into weak areas, just like I said. Dispatchers underprice the freight. Okay, because what if you could have actually been a better day? What if there wasn't no trucks? You got to know, you get a good feel for how many trucks are there. Like, for example, if I call a broker and we ain't figuring it out and I hang up on him and with an open end, please get a hold of me. We're available, ready to go. Don't never use close-ended sentences. With that being said, he calls me back 30 minutes later. That's a big red flag that he needs my equipment some kind of bad. Um, let's say profit disappears. The profit could disappear for more than one reason. A lot of trucks come to the area, or they found some knucklehead to take the freight for nothing. I mean, it just depends on the load. I don't look at every load. I'm working on one particular load. I'm not looking and comparing each one. I just go down. Might take me one call and I get a load. It might take me 7 calls and then I get a load. Trucks sit longer. Truck is sitting, it ain't rolling. Those trucks have got to make like $1,450 plus per day on them trucks to be profitable. But drivers become frustrated. They become pissed off. I drove for 24 years. They're going to get highly pissed off because you said you could do your job. They don't look at him. It ain't his responsibility. It's yours as a freight dispatcher. Rational thinking. Professional dispatchers ask, what happens after this load? Always look ahead, okay? Will this truck reload easily? Depending on where you're going, depending on the type of trailer. Is this market improving or weakening? You got to take different variables, not just from what you're seeing on the load boards, okay? Also, look at all your other drivers. Find out everybody you've ever known. Talk to them. Communication. I know somebody's in a particular area, let me put it this is a trick of my trade. Okay. If I know somebody's in a particular area and I know them because I became friends with them, I made lots of friends while I was in truck. And being a truck driver recruiter, I know a lot of people and I know the companies they run for because we recruit for those companies. So I know what their lanes are for the most part based on their type of trailers. Call them, ask them what's going on, what's it like. Yeah, they're not going to probably know in depth because they're not freight dispatchers, but it definitely gives you some detail about what's going on. If you know brokers that actually handle certain areas, use them in the same way. Call them, just saying, hey, I'm calling. I was looking for a load. I got this truck, whatever. Do you have anything available? And ask them any question. Hey, I got one down there in Florida and I'm having a little bit of hard time getting out of there. You know what's going on. But lots of times you can just look at the load board and just look at the rates that given region within that certain radius and just literally look at it and see what the loads are actually moving for. That being said, now I promise you, I swear to you, if you know where it's at, please reach out to me and tell me what you found. There used to be a thing that the United States government put out that would literally tell you where a majority of the trucks are at. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I know it, I saw it, I read it, and I was too damn lazy at that particular point to write down that web address. At that point, I wasn't doing nearly what I'm doing now. But that being said, if I'd have kept that website, it literally gave me where the trucks were all at in the United States, because those scale houses are used for more than just looking for safety compliance. They use that stuff for other stuff outside that most people are unaware of. The king wants to know where his deer are at. If that don't make sense to you, I don't know what to tell you. But thing is, here in the United States, everything is measurable. We don't look at nothing but numbers. The country doesn't look at nothing but numbers. The government's the exact same way. It's all in the math. But anyways, should we move now or wait? You're going to have to really look at that and think about it. Because if it's not posting everything at that given point based on what your needs are, then you're going to have to make a decision. And how far is that decision going to make that truck have to move to get to a better area that's in a better position? And if you read the market right for the position that you're going to move it into, make sure you got something in hands too. Don't just send it. It may not be the best, but make sure you got something that is at least in hand that would be pointing you in the right direction to get in the better lane. Okay. Listen to everybody about what's going on. Don't just assume you know it all. Otherwise, you're going to kill your truck. You're going to lose your owner operator. That's what's going to happen. The smartest dispatchers think 2 to 3 loads ahead. Absolutely. Where are they going? Where are they going now? But I don't pre-book that far out, because if anything happens, now I've got a stacked up domino effect of now not, I'm not saying I'm, failure of service, but if I'm already signing the rate cons for these loads, that's a problem. Okay. Let's see what else we got. What happens in this called the broker strategy? I call it, give me 1 second. So a professional dispatcher already knows the average lane rates, the fuel cost per impact, the deadhead risk, the driver's preferences. You know what your drivers want, reload opportunities, and the broker urgency. The next thing, what happens in this call? What happened in this call? The broker strategy. I'm sorry, I'm getting stuff popping up. So broker offers a number. You call them. Broker offers a number. The dispatcher counters. The broker puts the dispatcher on hold. Okay. So that way they can supposedly negotiate it. And the broker calls the customer or checks the margin or just makes it up. Okay. The broker comes back with the best offer. This happens constantly, and it's even played the other way where the dispatcher will negotiate a rate and say, hey, give me a moment. Let me contact my driver. I don't understand this game. I mean, I do know what it is and I understand, but why it has to be like this? Any explanations? So that being said, it's just nonsense on the way that's played. There should be a common price that people understand that the truck has to be profitable at, but they understand that's the way it's been done for the longest time that I've even known. So just play the game. Now, the things, what the dispatcher should be thinking about, okay, is this truck already moving? A moving truck has leverage. A parked truck loses leverage every hour. Bad thing. Because the further the day you get deeper into the day, the more the freight's gone. The stuff just ain't pumping up there. You're posting the truck all over the place. And that's what they're looking at. You're posting your truck. That means you're hungry. You're not moving. And that puts the ball now into the broker's court. So, question, is the truck empty already? How long has it been sitting? Is there another load option nearby? You need to figure out which one, and you need to make a call, left or right, but make a call. What does the market look like? Before negotiating, check the lane averages, check reload markets, check the outbound freight volume, and then check seasonal demand. These factors are not going to be something that you're checking on a sheet. You're just going to be able to look at the load boards and determine if, based on your other trucks that you might have in your fleet, or based on what's going on the load boards, about what this is actually going to pan out to look like. And DOT gives you data, so they definitely help with this. Does it always mean it's correct? Doesn't mean just because they're saying it's $2.75 a mile that I can't get it for $3.42 a mile. You know what I mean? So experienced dispatchers always know weak markets, strong markets, cheap lanes, premium lanes. You're going to know that out of experience. But that being said, look at the boards and learn to read those boards for what they are. And once you get that down, then obviously you can easily move a lot faster and securing that freight for that driver. Is the load actually profitable? Revenue means nothing without profit. And I've done this before on how to calculate this up, but this is just the ones that are on this one. So you got to do your fuel, your deadhead miles, the tolls are in that path, the driver pay, the time lost, the reload potential. Sometimes a 3,000 load loses money and a $2,500 load makes money. So that being said, make sure you do the math. If you don't know how to do the math, make sure you get with us here at Truck Driver Nation, and you need to learn how to do this. If you don't know how to be a freight dispatcher, get a hold of us. If somebody didn't teach you right, get a hold of us. They're screwing you over because now you're not thinking. As these points go together, this is one thought process. This ain't individual actions. It's one big thought process that it should automatically bang, 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 bang. You can't sit around and study it while you're trying to do it when the truck needs to be loaded. Like I said, every hour the truck sits, it's losing money. How urgent is the load? Urgency changes leverage. You want it to be in your court, but if there's damn trucks all over the place, it ain't going to be in your court on your best day. You're going to start figuring out, you're going to take that load. How far is that load? Will it actually get you a minimalistic level where the truck is not losing money? It may not be making the best profit, but can it get you to an area where the next load will get you profit? And make sure you talk to your owner operator about it before you start making radical moves, because he gave you the parameters on what he's looking for and how much he needs to be making per load, especially how much he needs to be making per day for that piece of equipment. Otherwise, if you're not going to listen to him, he's the boss. I don't give a shit how you cut it. If you're not going to listen to the person that's letting you dispatch your truck, then you're going to actually lose them. But now, if whatever they're saying is irrational, and you know that it's affecting because you're going to still get paid your percentage. Okay. That, or, oh, well, unless you do it by the load, however you're going to charge. But that being said, it's his call. He wants to lose money on his truck and you're telling him no and he wants to do it. Or if you tell him yeah and he sees that you're wrong, that's going to throw a bad light on you as well. So make sure you understand these different points as you proceed to do this. Know when to stop negotiating. Some dispatchers negotiate themselves out of the freight. If the truck is profitable, the driver agrees, reloads look good, market is weak, sometimes you take the load anyways. Okay. You just got to know how to work these variables. And that's a big point that we push in negotiating freight. I cannot tell you, and if people don't want to be there when I'm trying to show them how to negotiate, I got it. Go ahead. You got it all right. You're going to get it right in the ass because you didn't want to listen. Now, when to say yes? Take the load if the truck says the truck stays moving, the driver profits, the deadhead stays low, below 10 to 15%. The reload market is decent, but depending on where you're going with based on the trailer you have. Time efficiency makes sense. And you need to understand about time efficiency. Don't just hear me say it and then ignore it. Everything I'm telling you, you need to know what the hell it means. And market conditions are weak. I got to really look at those market conditions. You know what I mean? You really got to, find out, make sure that you're making the right move. Just because these scenarios do have exemptions to when you would actually say no. So when I say this, I know times I've had to say no and it was the right call. But anyways, I mean, when it says when you say yes, and I said no because I need, for whatever reason, I felt it in my bones. After you do this long enough, you're going to feel it in your core when to say no, when to say yes. The next thing, when to say no. Decline the load if the cheap rate plus high deadhead. Hell no. Bad reload area. Why go to a bad reload area if you're already trying to figure out how to do the first one? But anyways, even if it pays good, maybe you don't want to go to a deadhead area. I mean, a bad reload area because it's still not paying enough to offset what you're fixing to be dealing with. Driver loses money. Definitely say no. Appointment time wastes hours. If they're not giving you a layover detention or something to that degree, and if it's not even enough to benefit you in that scope, and the rate's not high enough, say no. Fuel costs destroy the profit. Don't go into a high fuel area, and especially make sure that your owner op knows that he should, but make sure that he knows where to fuel before he goes into those higher dollar areas for the fuel. Better opportunities likely exist. If you got a better opportunity, why would you ever say yes? Just say no. Learn how to just say no. That was Nancy Reagan. Yeah, just say no to drugs, kids. But anyways, how experienced dispatchers negotiate faster. Experience teaches dispatchers one, when brokers bluff, you'll get it. You'll get it. When lanes pay more, well, I mean, which lanes pay more, which markets are collapsing, when brokers are desperate, how to counter quickly, and when to stop wasting time. I'm not going to let them waste my time. Okay. It's either a yes or no. With me, I don't care. It's a yes or no. If it ain't a yes, then we don't have nothing more to talk about. Let me get on the phone with the next broker. If I'm actually just doing spot freight. If I got obviously direct shippers, we need to make that happen before any of them because most of the time they pay more than at least 30 to 40% more. Okay. Unless you can do LTL. LTL always pays more, but we're not going over that right now. So good dispatchers, negotiate calmly, don't threaten nobody's life, stay professional, maintain your overall demeanor in the conversation. Avoid emotional decisions. Don't let, if you've had a bad day so far, you all of a sudden you feel like you got to drive it home by taking that load, and that you really could actually nail yourself to the cross if you're not careful with that. Think long-term profitability too. Don't just live from one load to one load. You got to look out ahead of yourself, 2 or 3 loads, and start making sure that you're heading that truck in the right direction. And discuss those things with your driver. Don't just be, oh, we're going to do it my way or no way type of thing. It's his truck. You're going to find no way because he'll leave you. Important mindset. Proper planning prevents a poor performance. Was that? Yeah, proper proper mindset always does prevent a piss poor performance. So professional dispatching is preparation, market awareness again, truck positioning, planning the reloads, knowing the minimum profitable rates. Because if anything minimal, that means you ain't lost money, but you ain't made money neither. Fast decision making, you got to get on there. Other people are looking for that freight too. So you need to prepare, negotiate, profit, and then repeat. The best dispatchers don't just book loads, they manage the profitability, the time, the risk, and the truck movement. So all simultaneously. You do have to do simultaneously. It becomes a rhythm, repetitive rhythm. So that being said, I'll kind of leave it at that. I hope that gives you some better idea, the nutshell aspect of how to think as a when you're negotiating the process, the overall negotiating process when it comes to these loads. There's a lot of other factors that actually go into here, but the best dispatchers already know the average rate before they even call the broker. They instantly change. That instantly changes confidence during negotiation. Knowledge reduces hesitation. So definitely know what you're doing. That way you don't get hesitant. You know that you're right. They know you're right. And if they want to keep digging around all day long, just try to find a piece of equipment to book that load with, and they can keep running around. Now, brokers can often sense desperation. If a dispatcher sounds like they need the load badly, the obviously negotiating power drops, the broker holds firm, the rates become harder to improve, but the dispatcher with multiple options negotiates stronger because they can walk away. And and you'll build that habit. Don't just have one choice. You're putting yourself against the wall, but make sure before you do anything, so you don't waste time, run that MC with your factor and even make sure that load is factorable. Now, the biggest mistakes that dispatchers make is letting trucks sit too long waiting for unrealistic rates. Does that sound familiar? Okay, if you've ever been a logistic or you ever drove a truck, that is 100% the golden rule that just seems to be broken by so many people on a daily basis. Taking emotional losses because the rate feels low. Don't let the rate determine what goes on. Don't take it where you're bleeding money. Like you do have to meet a minimum, but don't let that be taking emotional losses because the rate feels low. Don't let your emotions control you. Ignoring deadhead risks. You run a driver over 150 miles, you're going to realize something on that one too. Make sure that it doesn't exceed that 10 to 15%. Try to keep it lower below that, but that's the top end, that 10 to 15%. Forgetting the cost of wasted time. Every minute is time for an 18-wheeler. So don't waste their time. And not planning reload positioning. If you go send a load out, you better have a damn good idea where that next load from that given region is going to be at, so you make sure you can get there and in a timely fashion. Remember, time and the distance, deadhead miles add up. Is it going to be during rush hour? What's it going to look like? Is it going to burn the whole day up just moving from point A to point B before you ever even have something in hand? And are you going to get them there so late that the place is going to be closed? Now you're having to delay for a whole nother day when you just dropped that one that dropped this morning, for example. This stuff comes up in all kinds of scenarios, but that's just me kind of trying to get you to think a little bit. Pro tip, a moving truck creates opportunities. Parked truck creates pressure. Professional dispatchers protect momentum. You got to keep that momentum, not just the momentum when we were talking about the momentum, we're talking about not just it's in yourself, it's in the driver, and it's in the broker. I got a guy coming. I don't want to tell somebody. I got a driver sitting, waiting. That right there, well, how much did you just tell that broker? You tell him a whole story because he's heard it before. Now you just gave him the power. Let's see what else we got. That being said, talking too much during negotiation, you can actually kill yourself. You can talk yourself right out of a decent rate. Sounding desperate, accepting too quickly, don't just jump on it. I'll give you a call right back. Let me check with this driver, see what he thinks. Okay. And they're going to play that game. Well, I got another driver. He's back there waiting. He's talking to us right now. They're going to play their cards too. Just remember, you got to know when to fold, know when to hold. So, was that the counting when the dealing's done type of deal. But anyways, accepting too quickly, showing frustration emotionally, keep your emotions, get yourself under control. Don't allow that. Get off the phone, walk around, do something. Get yourself under control. Panicking during silence or hold time. let them speak first. That's always been required. And never hesitate about going high on the load. You know, so I mean, this is my line to brokers. So you want me to run a truck at a loss, so that truck's going to go out of business. That's what you're telling me to do. Am I correct? Because any truck out there is actually facing the same financial struggles as the next one. And you couldn't negotiate. I love to tell them, you're going to tell me y'all couldn't negotiate with that direct shipper to make a better rate so the trucks are not suffering, and you're asking the trucks to go under because you're trying to save your own inadequacies of negotiating out a rate with a given direct shipper because you wanted a contract. Read it for what it really is. Okay. And don't be mean, be it nice. I'm a little bit mean on here because I'm trying to fire your ass up so you'll think. But also, another big mistake is chasing the gross revenue only, ignoring the fuel costs, ignoring the deadhead miles, forgetting reload planning, wasting an entire day for a slightly higher rate, and then you didn't end up getting it. Okay. You understand how I keep repeating some of these things over and over because it keeps coming up? Because that's the main problems. So if you can learn to mitigate those, then you'll put yourself in a lot better position, not just with the broker dealing your negotiating aspect of learning how to negotiate, but also in the eyes of the owner operator, which is obviously going to recommend other owner operators come to talk to you if you're doing your job correctly. But anyways, that's it. That's all you get for your dime here. So the real negotiating process, that is it in a nutshell. Remember, this is Truck Driver Nation. If you're not a freight dispatcher, you want to be one. Excuse me, y'all. I ate some food that's killing me. Actually, it was chocolate. But that being said, if you actually want to be a freight dispatcher, please get us hold of us at Truck Driver Nation. Go to the homepage, go down. There's a link for Telegram. Click it. It will actually send you directly to me so we can talk. Okay. You're not talking to somebody that works for me. You're actually talking to me. But that being said, I hope this content helped you out. Please hit like, subscribe, or whatever. Help them out. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So help me out with this because I'm trying to improve this. This takes time for me to build these things, and I'd like to at least have something. It'll take you but a second to go click. I'm not putting you out of your house and starving you to death. So help me out. I'm trying to help you out. But anyways, that being said, I hope this gave you some insight on that. If you want to reach out for more help, I'd love to hear from everybody. You know, if I don't get to you, please leave messages in Telegram. I will absolutely get back to you. But anyways, I hope that helped you out. Remember, truckdrivernation.com. And that being said, I will make that the end of this. I appreciate it. Everybody be blessed, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.